What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mover Mailbag. Sorry there was no episode of Mondays with Mover this week. I just got back from recurrent training with the airline and just didn't have time to make it before Monday. So hopefully I'll have one in the coming weeks. I hope you guys are having a great week. If you haven't already, please pre-order and pick up FINI Flight, which is the new book coming out on May 21st. Remember, this is an author vlog, so that's what supports the channel. Also, if you're looking for a charity, Folds of Honor, great organization, fine group of Americans supporting our veterans and the fallen. On today's Mover Mailbag, a lot of questions about private pilots' licenses, so I thought I would answer that question and we will jump right into it. First question comes from Kayla, and Kayla says, questions about being a fighter pilot. Hello, I love watching your YouTube videos and I had a few questions to ask an actual fighter pilot. I am a 17-year-old girl and my parents are worried about what I will do in my future after I leave the Air Force. I'm close to earning my PPL, private pilot's license, and I will have it by the time I am 18. Do you think that will help increase my chances of becoming a fighter pilot? Are there any jobs that aren't extremely time-consuming that I could go into when I retire? Do you think it's possible to be married with children and be a fighter pilot? I'm in the Civil Air Patrol now and I will probably do ROTC in college. Is it better to do ROTC at a college and get a 4-year degree or go straight into the USAFA, which is the Air Force Academy? Sorry for so many questions. Thanks for your YouTube videos. They really helped a lot. To Kayla. Okay, Kayla. First of all, I think it's awesome that you are trying to become a fighter pilot. There are a lot of women fighter pilots out there. I hope to get one on the channel at some point. Do you think it will increase my chance to become a fighter pilot? Private pilot's license absolutely helps become a fighter pilot in that it'll help you get a pilot slot. It makes you more competitive. It'll increase your PCSM score, which is the pilot candidate selection method. It'll show prospective units, especially if you go guard reserve, that you have no kidding interest in flying and the ability to do it. Is it required to get a pilot's license? No, but it is helpful and it definitely shows initiative and desire. And also, I think where it helps is in the beginning phases of introductory flight screening as well. I think you can skip IFS if you already have a pilot's license, but it'll just help with air sense and you won't be as overwhelmed in the airplane, which will translate to better grades. Are there any jobs that aren't extremely time consuming that I could get into when I retire? Yeah, be an airline pilot. One of my buddies once said that the airline job is the greatest part-time job he's ever had, and I agree with that. I mean, you can fly, it's kind of a choose your own adventure. You can fly a lot and make a lot of money, or you can fly a little and still make a decent living. You're gone from home. That's the only thing, you're not spending the night in your own bed every night unless you live in base and just do turns, which are, go out to one airport and come right back. But that's all based on seniority. But as far as, part-time jobs, yeah, being an airline pilot is probably the way to go. Do you think it's possible to be married with children and be a fighter pilot? Yes. I know very many female fighter pilots that have gotten married and had kids. Some mill to mill, so their spouse is military as well, which kind of helps in that they're both active duty, and they understand. The most successful marriages in general I've seen have been the ones where the spouse is kind of a stay-at-home parent, because if you're active duty, you'll PCS every 2.5 to 3 years, and that's hard on a spouse to have a job. So it's typically a little bit easier if the spouse stays at home, and that way they have flexibility, or gets a job that's not a full-blown career, so that they can follow the active duty member around. But with that said, it's not impossible. Plenty of people do it. When you do decide to have a family, if that's your goal, you'll basically stop flying once you get medically unable to fly, and while you are pregnant, and then from there you'll have your baby and have a little bit of leave after that, and eventually you'll come back. I know plenty of fighter pilots that have done that, and there's no issues whatsoever. So absolutely, it is a doable thing. Is it better to do ROTC at a college and get a 4-year degree, or go straight in USAFA? It doesn't matter. Whichever one you can get a pilot slot. USAFA is a great university. It's a great school. It's great education. There are lots of pilot slots there, but ROTC is just as good. OTS is just as good. I like the Guard Reserve option, especially if you want to live in a certain location and they'll hire you and you want to fly a certain aircraft. I mean, that's a good option too. I don't think there's any right answer. I think it just kind of depends. So whichever way you choose, apply to them all and do your best. Make them tell you no, and I think you'll be fine. So thanks for the email, and I hope you get what you're looking for. Hope you get your fighter slot. All right, this next one comes from Luis. Luis says, hello, Mr. Lemoine. Before I start, thank you for taking time and the opportunity for reading my email. My name is Luis, and I'm a student pursuing my BA in aeronautics. I'll be graduating June 1st of this year. I'm a commercial pilot, not flying commercially, studying to become a CFI and a CFII, which is a flight instructor and an instrument flight instructor. Everyone in my school going to the regional airlines after graduation like to do the opposite, join the USAF. I would like to know what are my chances if I'm a civilian pilot going active duty as an officer to become a pilot for the Air Force. I would like to go cargo, C-17 preferable. I have researched about how I can get there and what are the steps to sacrifice person have to come, and I know I'm willing to overcome it. I would like to know what is best for me with my experience in the category I would like to fly. Number 1, do I have a guaranteed pilot slot or some kind of advantage because of my experience? Number 2, if I get selected to fly drones after pilot school, am I forced to stick with that job, or can I change my contract to serve 6 years in another job outside being pilot and still inside the Air Force? Thank you for your time, Luis. Okay, I'll just go straight to your questions. Do I have a guaranteed pilot slot or some kind of advantage because of your experience? No, there are no guarantees in this job. You will have a slight advantage in that it's more competitive. Obviously, your resume is going to look good, especially if your GPA is high. You will have an advantage initially because of your flight time, more than likely, depending on how you do. Because remember, when you first go to pilot training, it's all contact, which is aerobatics, stalls and falls, stuff like that. So does it translate? Yeah. Instrument, a lot of people say it's actually a negative because the military does instrument flying its own way, and the civilian side does it it's another way, and you have to unlearn any bad habits. So whether that helps you, maybe not. So I think AirSense, more flight time is obviously always better, so I think it will help you in general, which will obviously make you better, and it'll make you higher in your class ranking, so you can kind of choose your own adventure. You can choose which track select, which for you would be T1s if that's what you want. And then if you do well in T1s, then if your class ranking's high and those C-17s there, yeah, absolutely. But thing you need to learn is what's called the needs of the Air Force, and there are no guarantees in anything at any time and anywhere, especially if you go active duty. So it's not, your experience will help you get the pilot slot, but everyone starts on day 1 of pilot training equal footing. Doesn't matter if you have 2,000 hours or 200 hours. You are considered the same, so it absolutely will not guarantee a single thing for you. If I get selected to fly drones after pilot school, am I forced to stick with that job? Can I change my contract to serve 6 years in another job outside of being a pilot, but still inside the Air Force? I don't know that UPT, I haven't seen a UPT drop lately with drones. That's not to say they're not doing it, but I really haven't seen that as prevalent as it was for a little while. But in general, it's needs of the Air Force. So if you are winged, your commitment is 10 years from the date of winging, period, dot. You cannot change that just because you get something you don't like. You're stuck with it, and you have to realize that you can't go into this being all about me and all about what's best for you. You have to realize that it's a bigger organization, and it's what's best for your country and what's best for the Air Force. So if you do happen to get drones, it sucks, but just, you'll have to suck it up and make the best of it and make a career out of it. I would actually recommend you lean more towards the Guard Reserve. Based on what you're telling me, I would actually recommend you go find a C-17 unit and rush them and get hired by them versus, going to the active duty where you have all these concerns about, what's best for you. That's just my take on it. Any way you choose will be decent. All right, this comes from Miami Avi. Hi, I love the videos. Just have a quick question. I'm currently a commercial pilot with instrument rating. I'm finishing off my CFI and I'm currently doing collage. I just started, so I'll be done in about 4 years. I'm 21. I want to do airlines, but after collage, I want to do Air Force Reserve. mind making a video or giving some tips on flying for an airline first and becoming a reserve pilot? Thanks. My OTS roommate was actually a regional pilot prior to joining. He'd probably be a good person to have on the channel, but it's definitely doable. People do it all the time. When you go to the airline under USERA, you will be able to drop military leave of absence and go do your training. Now, you're kind of limited to 5 years, which I think training doesn't count for that. So you'd have to look that up. I'm not real sure because it's never been something I've really looked into. But you could get hired by an airline and then drop military leave, go do all your training, and then you would still have your same seniority number and you'd still have the job when you came back. And that's just federal law. So that's a good option if you wanted to do that. Going to the regional to mainline is a good option, but another parallel path is to go military and then go to the mainline. So if you went, and because I've had this question before, if you went to a regional, because you're not going to obviously go to mainline right out of the gate, if you went to a regional and then got hired by the military, I don't know why you would stay with the regional, but because by the time you finish the military flying, you'll actually be competitive for mainline. It's definitely an option. Whether it's the best option, I don't know. If you're looking for the soonest seniority number. Now, if you were to go regional and then mainline, and then you were still young enough and dropped mil leave and went to the C-17 or whatever, sorry, that was Luis, but if you went to a reserve unit, yeah, that'll work out fine. But if you went regional and then did this, I'm not sure where that really helps you. To me, I would go straight to the reserves, fly whatever it is you want to fly in the reserves, and then come out and then assess whether you have the hours to go to mainline and you're competitive or you're not. Because from a salary basis in retirement, you're accruing you're accruing active duty retirement time because you're going to be on orders for a lot of that. And, the pay with BAH and all that stuff is still better than the regionals. So just something to consider. Do the math. Do the research. Either way you go, I mean, it's a very doable option. I just, I'm not sure what you're gaining by doing that. I don't think, going back to what we were talking about before, what will help you in pilot training is the stick and rudder skills. Aerobatics, basic instrument flying to some extent, and just being able to fly an aircraft and have situational awareness. Regional flying, airline flying, 121 flying will do nothing for you in pilot training. It's different flying. It's totally different. It's not even remotely the same. It's not going to help you do well at all because it's just autopilot flying, and we don't do a lot of that in pilot training. In fact, we do none of it. There's no autopilot in the T6. There's no autopilot in T38. And when you get to the fighters, if that's where you go, you're looking at maybe a heading select and an altitude hold. Sometimes it'll fly to steer points. The Hornet would fly to steer points, and I think the newer jets will do that too. But my point being, it's different flying, so you cannot relate the two. Hope that answers your question. I would recommend getting the slot. To me, if you're close to mainline, go get your mainline seniority number and do that. And by mainline, I mean a legacy airline, Delta, FedEx, American, United, Southwest, all that stuff. If you can get hired by them, then drop mil leave, absolutely. But if you're not anywhere near that, I think regional flying and military flying are equivalent as far as career paths go. So there's no point to do both. It's kind of a one or the other thing, unless in some situations you get out. I mean, I've seen guys before where they get out of a fighter, for example, and they just don't have the minimums. They don't have 1,500 hours yet for a full ATP. So they have to go to a regional, but their time at the regional is very short. So, that's something, like I said, you just assess when you get on the backside. There's no reason to do it ahead of time. So hope that answers your question. Let's see. Let's read something nice because I like reading nice things. This is from Zach. Bottom line up front with bluff. It's a big military term. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure your inbox is flooded every day with emails from all sorts of organizations, individuals alike, so I'll make this one short. I came across your YouTube channel at random about a year ago after watching some B course grad videos and UPT grad videos, as well as we all do at some point. We do. I really enjoy those. I'm an 18 Vance grad, 33rd Flying Training Squadron and 3rd FTS, which is cool because I was in the 33rd. And now driving C-17s on the East Coast. Just wanted to let you know that myself and many other bros watch your videos and get inspiration and motivation from your stories and perspectives, even as qualified and accomplished active duty guys ourselves. It's important to keep a good thing going and support those who are doing the work, so thanks for putting out great content, and just know that your audience extends to all sorts of levels, even those of us currently yanking and banking. All the best, sir. Zach. Thanks, brother. I mean, I appreciate it. The kind words help. You know, sometimes there's doubts, you know, I mean, especially after the whole T-38 flyby video thing, but it's good to see that the channel and answering the questions is having a positive impact. I hope people are getting a lot out of it, and, you know, maybe inspiring people to want to do this job, because it's a great career. It's a great time. I wouldn't trade anything. You know, having come to the airline now, I would not trade. If I could have gotten my seniority number 12 years ago, 15 years ago, in lieu of doing fighters, I would never do it, because it's an experience I wouldn't trade for the world, and it's awesome. So, will be another video next week. Probably no mover mailbag, but I'll try to get a Mondays with Mover done on Monday for Monday. So hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.